Hello everyone! It is a really precious chance for me to be able to join in NIT Literary Studies Conference held by Universitas Sanata Dharma, Yogyakarta. So let me introduce myself first. I'm Putu Rahmayanti as the second author and the presenter, and Nikomang Ariswastini as the first author in this research. So today, I would like to deliver a research entitled EFL Students' Teachers' Perception Toward Teaching English Vocabulary Through Poetry. Everyone, I directly want to tell you about the introduction of the research. As we know that literary works have been acknowledged as the authentic sources for language teaching and learning by some previous experts. Asiberva in 2020 highlights the advantages of the use of literatures as learning source, such as involving learners as a whole person, and good opportunity for revealing their opinion, reaction, and feelings through integration of appropriate method and approach for increasing their language and literature competency. Then, from all literary works that learned by the students, poetry has been commonly taught in English classroom. Furthermore, in 2021 argues that poetry is semantics learning source that provides development of language knowledge for all level and engage students imaginative and effective. In relation to that statement, Rahman et al. In 2020 emphasized that most of students prefer learn English with poetry because they need material with rich vocabulary and know word meanings and use of English words. In the other hand, most of the challenge that faced by the learners is learning new words. Therefore, Harman et al. In 2018 emphasized that vocabulary is important language feature for learn all subject area. Previous studies already find that poetry is effective media to improve students' vocabulary. Referring to the importance of vocabulary previously, teachers' awareness is important. There are classroom principles in teaching vocabulary that must be considered by the teachers, such as opportunity in incidental intentional vocabulary learning, active strategy on students' participation in vocabulary learning, and train new vocabulary for long-term memory. English language education students have two roles. They are as students, teachers, and college students who learn poetry as literary works and teaching media. Through this point, it is significantly important that they have to develop their language competency, expose the different teaching media out of textbooks, and engage students with creative learning activities. Therefore, the present research is aimed at analyzing students-teacher perception toward the use of poetry as teaching media for teaching vocabulary. The next is about the method in this present research. The participants of this research were 87 English language education student teachers. Then the data sources were final essay project of the students teachers about their view on poetry to teach vocabulary. Then the present research used interactive data analysis from Miles Haberman and Saldana in 2014. This interactive data analysis model occurred simultaneously. There were 4 stages in this model. The first, data collection, reading, note-taking, and tabulating the data were conducted. The participants also given codes such as P1 until P87 to get the clear data collection. Then the next data is data condensation. In this stage, the data classified into 7 perceptions such as pronunciation, spelling, figurative language, colloquial language, unfamiliar words, grammatical function, and collocation. Then the data display. The previous classified perceptions were elaborated and interpreted based on Brown 2011 and Harmer 2003 theories. This perception grouped into word form, word meaning, and word use. In conclusion drawing, the view on student-teacher perception on the use of poetry to teach vocabulary for students were concluded. Everyone, we jump to the next presentation is about finding and discussion. According to Mardali and Siyari in 2019, generally teachers believe that in teaching vocabulary it includes lexical instruction in memory, meaning, and function. In line with that statement, elements in vocabulary for Brown and Harmer are used to classify the perception of the participants. Brown emphasized on the word form, word meaning, and word use, while Harmer highlights on word meaning, word use, and grammar. Based on both theory, it can be synthesized that in teaching vocabulary, there were three elements that must be included, such as word form, word meaning, and word use. Word form deals with how does the word form into spoken and written language. Word meaning deals with identify meaning of word and association of word or possibility of its synonym, antonym, connotation, and denotation. And the word use deals with the use of grammatical rules and pattern. Then, everyone, in this diagram, we can see 7 perceptions in improving vocabulary through poetry. There were 23 participants perceived about pronunciation, 21 students teacher perceived about spelling, 12 perceived about figurative language, and the same number were found in colloquial language and unfamiliar words, 6 perceived about grammatical use, and 3 perceived about collocation. Everyone, we can see that word form got highest percentage than the word meaning got 39% and word use just got 10%. The participant mostly identified written and spoken language in improving students' vocabulary through poetry. Then, we will discuss each perception in short. In the pronunciation, there were opposite arguments. A respondent revealed that listen and repeat can be done to improve pronunciation through poetry. While Jones in 1997 states that pronunciation teaching approach is not only about listen and repeat, but beyond instructional method. Therefore, Jones highlights that students' personality, emotion, value, and socio-cultural environment affect their learning in pronouncing the words. Choosing in 2018 proposed a solution that literary text can help students to create imaginative fictional people, events, and even their own experiences through language, and they can feel part of the text. Therefore, it can be integrated with more contextual activities. Then the next is about spelling. To meet the aim in spelling ability, which is good into good writing skill, creative, flexible, and interactive source are needed. Finch in 2003 stated that poetry provides a source to train students' spelling ability in order to gain good writing and vocabulary. Next, in figurative language, Gibbs et al. In 1993 stated that the process of understanding figurative language, students are able to analyze the literal meaning of the sentences before transform the meaning behind the sentences by deriving interpretation. Poetry constantly rich figurative language to beautify language expression in poetry. Then, colloquial also can be found in poetry since this literary works also a media to communicate or express someone's expression. Colloquial language is needed in socialization. Classroom unusually provides formal material which contain formal academic language. In this case, the teacher's guide in providing students with contextual media on language learning. Therefore, colloquial language also can be acquired in formal class setting, and in unfamiliar words, it is clear that the poetry has a hidden meaning that is presented in its vocabulary. Campillo in 1995 also supports student-centered learning in finding unfamiliar vocabulary, whether it is its synonym or antonym. The next, Arindora et al. In 2021 explained that poetry is able to give direct exposure of grammatical, lexical, and syntactic knowledge besides through Poetry analysis also support that effective grammar learning before students are having automatic production of their own sentences. While in collocation use, Garba in 2021 argues that collocation in a poetry is a special because that is a deviation which is seen as aesthetic devices in a work. Brown in 1974 support that in giving exercises for collocations, teachers give flexible variety and let them to fill the useful group of words. Further, Oller in Brown in 1974 adds that sentences of a foreign language are immediately learned when they are placed in a meaningful sequence. Everyone, in conclusion, there are 7 perceptions shown by the participants that can be classified into word form, word meaning, and word use. It means that poetry is known as authentic learning sources, is effective media to teach vocabulary, and it contains vocabulary elements. Further, the researcher suggests that in using poetry to teach vocabulary, teachers have to consider about the types of poetry and students' level. Everyone, that's all about the present research. I do apologize if I did some mistake during the presentation, and thank you.